I'm leaving the office. I'm in a bit of a hurry. I'm trying to go and meet Chris so that we can test some batteries on a guy's boat because his engines won't start. Here's the boat I'm going to be working with Chris on. We're coming to see how come the generator and some other things aren't working on the boat. And come to find out, it's a 2022, so it shouldn't be having problems. But apparently something's going on with the batteries that we're going to check out.
We're here on a 33-foot Regal. The customer stated that the generator won't start, but also none of his house electronics are working. So we're going to start from the power source. And of course, the very first thing you do is get the layout of the boat. We found where the battery switches are in here. And we've located the batteries down here in the engine room. We just got to identify which ones are which, so we're troubleshooting the right ones. Unfortunately, nothing is labeled. So I'm going to start pulling them off and seeing which ones go to which and which ones are good.
Okay. What's down in there, Chris?
So the generator controls and the
okay.
AC panel are down there. We have voltage at the batteries and things are coming on. So I'm just going through to see what works, what doesn't work, trying to identify what runs off of which battery so we can troubleshoot properly.
Okay, great.
Sounds like a quiet mom. So we were able to get all of the house electronics to come on. All the batteries are on. They actually have proper voltage, but the certain things that require a high current draw, like the windlass and starting the generator, are not working. So we're going to disconnect the batteries and individually load test them to make sure that they're good for cold cranking amps.
The big reveal.
So what we did is we took the batteries out of the system by disconnecting them, ran them through a load test, which this little guy kind of simulates putting a massive draw on the battery, and then it gives you feedback whether or not the battery is good, it needs to be recharged, or even though if it's putting out the proper amount of voltage, that it doesn't have enough cold cranking amp to turn over heavy draw type of equipment or last over a long period of time. And what we ended up having here is out of the two house batteries, which also run the generator, is that the aft one needs to be recharged and then retested in order to get a good test. The forward one just needs to be recharged. It passed the test for cranking amps, but it needs to have a recharge to it. So we're going to throw a battery charger on it, and then retest them once they're fully charged.
Okay, so it sounds like Chris is going to go see if we can get power so that we can put a battery charger on the boat. Here's your extension cord.
All right, thank you.
I brought the biggest one I could find.
That's perfect.
I think it's like 100 feet.
That is going to be plenty. I'm going to make her work.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Chris is getting to experiment with our brand new NOCO battery charger.
Oh yeah.
These ones just came out.
It's nice little portable chargers. What we were gonna do is try to hook up the actual short tie to use the onboard battery chargers to bring these back to life. Fortunately, in the boatyard here, which is a lot of the cases, is most of the boats use a 30 amp connector, which is, if you've ever owned a camper, it's very similar to that. It's big, turns and locks in. The closest 30 amp pedestal is way over there, way out of reach of the shore tie that this boat has, and we were unable to actually move the boat from this work rack to another to get closer. So we're going to adapt and overcome and just put a little portable charger on overnight for a little bit, see if it brings the batteries back to life. Hopefully they come back to life and problem solved from here. All right. Hooked up.
So hopefully later it will start, huh?
Hopefully. I might not get used to that pedestal.
Chris and I are over here checking out, see if there's power over here because our extension cord isn't working.
Using our little portable charger that we have here, we just hooked up the one house battery that tested bad but indicated that it needed to be retested after a charge, which is usually pretty helpful for batteries. We've got the charger on. We've got it set to AGM 12 volts, and right now it's blinking that it was incredibly low, which we knew because it failed its test. So we'll give it about 6 to 8 hours to test, see that it's improving, and then once it's at 100%, we'll probably recharge the other battery just for the sake of having two good batteries. It's starting to come up now, which is good, and we'll come back and test it.
Great, we've got 2 lights now.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm joining Chris again on this boat that keeps telling us that they're having problems with the electronics and the generator and some things that aren't working on the boat. So we are here to check it out again since we installed those new batteries. Look at this beautiful yellowfin. I just love the color. What color would you prefer if you had a boat? What's one of your favorites?
Previously, we came on this customer's boat because they had an issue with none of their house electronics were working. Quick little recap of what we did before today was we just kind of tested all of their batteries and recharged them and found that they had one bad battery in their house bank. So we replaced that. Everything came back on. Then the customer called back again saying that he was still having issues with generator not starting and a few things in the house just not working. So after some troubleshooting, what we ended up finding out is that not only does this boat have a regular house switch, but you may or may not be able to hear it, but when you turn the house battery on, you should also hear a click downstairs. If you heard that click, that was the second house remote switch that controls all the powers to the generator and a few other things. Well, when I came on here and I was turning that on, it was not clicking. So after a little bit of troubleshooting, we ended up finding out that the actual breaker in here that sends the 12 volts down to that switch to close was bad. So we ended up replacing that and got some positive results about it. So now we have all the generators back up, the windlass is back up, and the AM/FM radio is back up. The other issue that we had on here is very similar, is that the VHF radio was not turning on. First thing that I went to go check the fuse. As I was wiggling the fuse, I could hear the radio chirping a little bit, which meant that it was trying to get power, but it wasn't getting enough. So I pulled the fuse out, tested it. The fuse was actually good, but what was bad is there was a small gasket on that on the housing for the fuse, and it was allowing a little bit of moisture to get in there, caused some corrosion and some resistance. So the fuse wasn't making contact, so the radio was not getting power. Rectified that by cleaning it up, putting a new gasket on there. So now they've got all of their stuff up and running. Think that I missed anything, or you guys got any suggestions? I think I pretty much covered everything. That's about it.